We may be on the verge of a powerful shift in college athletics that could really adversely affect the Big 12. It could definitely hurt this league. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk college football, college basketball, conference realignment from a Big 12 angle. Live shows Wednesday and Sunday. They are a great time. You don't want to miss out on those. Other content throughout the week as well. I'd appreciate it if you like the video. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so on Venmo at John-Kurtz-4. I'm going to read you an article from On3. A lot of people have been talking about today, as I record this here on Wednesday, the news that broke about a hearing in Congress, once again, about the future of college athletics and the list of people that were invited to that. It's a much more in-depth look at where things could be heading in college athletics, including to a place that could put the Big 12 at another competitive disadvantage, and not just the Big 12, but everybody not named the Big 10 or the SEC at a competitive disadvantage. So the article says, as the courts and other entities stand poised to dramatically reshape the college sports model, the White House will convene a roundtable discussion on a variety of issues related to the rights of college athletes, including how college football players can formally organize, a source with knowledge of the meeting told On3. The roundtable is a notable development, if only symbolically, as the industry incrementally moves toward potentially seismic changes that may usher in an era of collective bargaining in the coming years. Here's the list of invitees. You ready for this? Andrew Luck, former Colts quarterback, ESPN college football analyst Rod Gilmore, ESPN anchor Kevin Negandhi, ESPN's Desmond Howard, College Football Playoff Association Leadership Member, Council Member Jordan Meacham, and Keith Marshall, co-founder of the Players Lounge and a former Georgia Star running back. I love the fact that, like, Rod Gilmore and Kevin Negandhi, nothing against them at all. Those are just kind of funny names to me to be thrown in randomly to go to the White House. I said Congress earlier, the White House. We're talking about the freaking White House having this meeting. Topics are expected to include, among other issues, safety standards, as well as how college football players can formally organize, an increasingly relevant issue generating discussion among college leaders nationwide. In various corners of the country, court proceedings are ongoing that could create a new, dramatically evolved college athletics model, one that would likely grant athletes more rights, protections, and perhaps a slice of the broadcast revenue pie. As public sentiment continues to change, the legal proceedings continue to churn. Prominent industry leaders are also gradually moving on key issues. We've heard about this. Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick, for instance, advocated to Yahoo Sports a concept that would prevent athletes from being deemed employees, but would enable them to unionize and collectively bargain with the NCAA. A growing number of legal experts believe that radical change is coming. It's just a matter of when. So we're going to talk about collective bargaining here now, and this is where I think it becomes relevant to the Big 12 and leagues in particular that are not the Big 10 or the SEC. In the courts, U.S. District Judge Claudia Wilkin on Friday granted class action status for the 3 remaining damages classes in the landmark House v. NCAA antitrust lawsuit. The NCAA and power conferences could be ordered to pay some $4.2 million in damages to thousands of former and current athletes. Plus, NIL rule changes could take hold to allow schools and conferences to pay NIL dollars to athletes for any reason. Meanwhile, the plaintiffs in Johnson v. NCAA, former Villanova player Trey Johnson and other D1 athletes are asking for athletes to be deemed employees subject to the Fair Labor Standards Act. That would mean that they would have to be paid minimum wage and overtime pay, much like non-athletes who participate in work-study programs. On the National Labor Relations Board front, a virtual hearing started Tuesday that will weigh unfair labor practice charges against USC, the Pac-12, and the NCAA. And Boston-based NLRB regional director will soon rule whether 15 Dartmouth men's basketball players can conduct a union election. On September 13th, a petition filed with NLRB by the service employees. And okay, whatever. There's a lot of stuff going on here. The point that I want to make about this is if you get to a point where these players are going to be collectively bargaining with schools, if the schools are going to be directly paying the athletes, it's not just going to be through NIL payments. That is where these big TV contracts can start to have a bigger impact in college athletics. If these massive TV contracts in the Big 10 and the SEC can help with anything, it can be directly paying the athletes if that is then allowed. That is a place where they would have a huge advantage. Right now, it's somewhat of an advantage because we think about the coaching carousel, right? And all of these different coaches or schools in the Big 10 and the SEC that can pay their coaches crazy amounts of money, much more than a Big 12 school could, perhaps. That's something that gets talked about a lot. It's why when Purdue has a coach opening, there's a lot of Big 12 coaches that get thrown on there that would not seem to make a lot of sense in terms of the prestige of the job. But the thought is, hey, they've got Big 10 TV money. They could probably pay him more. it's more of an advantage if that money is going directly toward the players. Like, that's a bit of an advantage if you can pay the coach more, but if you can just send it directly to the players and you've got an extra $30 or $40 million per year as a school, now we're talking about a pretty significant competitive advantage for these schools. And then I would really worry about what happens to the competitive equity in recruiting. So that is why this is something really to keep an eye on. I know it's not the sexiest of topics right now, and everything that I just read, it was a bit of a slog to get through, but that is something that could be very important as we, here on this channel, fans of Big 12 schools, fight for the relevancy of our schools in this new age of college athletics. That could be something that makes it a lot harder to compete if we do get to that point. I guess I'm sure in that case you could still have your extra boosters helping out if you're a school like SMU in that situation and you're that brazen. Say, who cares? We've got people with deep pockets. They'll figure out a way to pay everybody. But for a lot of schools, I mean, it certainly helps if you're Purdue to have an extra $30 million a year from your Big Ten TV contract in that sort of a scenario. So keep your eye on that. There are a lot of big things happening in college athletics right now. Everybody's really focused on the sign stealing thing and the Michigan stuff, but this could be much more impactful long term in college athletics. So we'll be talking about it here as things continue to change on the channel. I mentioned live shows Wednesdays and Sundays. Make sure you get subscribed to the channel if you are not, so that you can be a part of those. They're a blast, in particular if you are a Big 12 fan. Liking the video really helps me out. I would appreciate that. Leaving a comment in the comment section. Love me, hate me, agree, disagree. That really helps as well. And John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you are so inclined and want to support the channel that way. I appreciate all of you guys for being here. Thank you so much. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.